In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
This is our third segment of the Tech Zone, our final segment of this show. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. You're in the Tech Zone here on ABC News Radio KeyMed. So happy that you decided to stay throughout the show, listening to some really good information when it comes to technology. What else do you expect from the czar of technology? No, I'm just joking. But thank you. When it comes to motion picture film editing, as fans and consumers, we always see the finished product. But what really goes into creating that masterpiece that we see on the screen or watch in our home? I'm so happy to have one of the experts in this field talk about his experience when it comes to motion picture film editing and what he's doing to really pay it forward to help the next generation of creative minds to really take this task on and be a part of the business. And I hope you enjoy this conversation that I'm about to have. And I'm so happy to have with me right now veteran motion picture editor Lawrence Jordan. Lawrence, it is amazing to have you here on the Tech Zone, looking at the work that you've done in the past and continue to do. How goes it, my friend?
It's going well, Paul. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
Great to have you with me, my friend. So when we look at just where we're at when it comes to editing, I know you and I talked off camera. I told you about my experience when I was in high school. But you being in the industry for many, many years and being around it, basically your entire life almost, what have you seen the changes when it has come to editing, and has it made the process quicker, more complex? Please share with us your thoughts.
The big change, I could sum it up in one word, and that's digital. Like everything else in all of our lives, computers have changed everything. I mean, you were telling me that you started on, analog video. I started on analog film, 35 millimeter back in the day. And, that's traditionally how films were made for, 70, 75, 80 years. And when digital came along, it just, was a massive shift in our industry, specifically in editing, later on in cinematography. And, if I could sum it up quickly, the biggest change would be because of the facility of digital cinematography. They shoot a lot more film nowadays. We just get tons and tons of material as editors to sort through and go through. They literally don't ever turn off the cameras until the memory card gets filled up a lot of times. So that's been the biggest sort of change, I think, specifically for editors and assistant editors, is just having to manage all that data. So we're working on it, though, and we're hanging on there. We're coming up with new methods of dealing with that kind of material, that kind of amount of material, and we're forging onward.
I love it. And Lawrence, you probably had no idea that when you were learning this craft when you were younger, that you'd have to be a computer programmer too to do these type of things and data entry and everything. And you bring up a very good point, because when I started in the audio field, when I used to work at a recording studio, we actually had one in my house when I was growing up, and I remember the 3/4 inch tape. We had to splice it and put it together. And Lawrence, for some of the millennials out there who have no idea what we're talking about, I mean, those days, man, when you had to cut and splice and tape together, man, I am so glad we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of parts about those days that do not miss. Tearing the sprocket holes along the side of the film and then having to repair them. And then when you're in a screening, watching that go through the projector, it was a pretty, unpleasant situation. But, there were a lot of things about cutting on film that, were pleasurable and possibly, advantageous to the editing process. You used to make a set of changes on film, and then, you would put it up in the screening room, and then you'd look at it, and, there was a, sort of a longer period of time where your ideas could bake and simmer a little bit. You could think about it a little bit longer. Now, you recut a scene, and then, before you even look at it, you recut it again. So, digital is something that you can execute as fast as you have the ideas. So, you've got to kind of get adjusted to that different rhythm, coming where we come from. But, it's a different rhythm. It's a different pace. And you have to move fast because of, again, the amount of material that you get to go through.
And you know what, Lawrence, when we see at all the different formats and places where we get content now with the streaming services and movies, we see that this has caused a lot of people to try to take on this profession. Really, we're just cutting their teeth by watching or looking at different videos on how to do certain things. But what I like about what you have done, Lawrence, you have put together something that can help ones to really have these skills that can help them to succeed in this industry. And please talk to us a little bit about that and why you decided, to give others this opportunity.
Well, you make a good point. It's a very specific set of skills, what we do in professional motion pictures and television. And when I say professional, there's people out there, on YouTube who are doing professional level work. So it's not to take anything away from them. But, what I'm talking about is the studio system, the network system, the larger, streaming networks like Netflix and so on, Amazon. It's a very specific set of skills. You're working in teams. You're working in networked situations where you'll have, 2, 3, 6 and more people on a crew. And again, you get these huge volumes of material. So there has to be a very, very kind of specific and, delineated workflow for what everybody's going to be doing, from the editor to the first assistant to the second and third assistants, the VFX editors. Traditionally, there has not really been a way to learn that unless you get a job in a cutting room. I mean, it's the quintessential catch-22. You can't get the job unless you know the workflow, and you can't learn the workflow unless you get the job. So, there have been courses over time. I actually took one when I was first starting out, that was taught by some veteran editors. It was a very small kind of class. And it taught some of those skills. I partnered with my former assistant on this, Richard Sanchez, who's a real ace at what he does, and we thought it was time to update this. Update the information that assistants need to know to successfully, work on large-scale projects. And we weren't sure if anybody was going to be interested in it. So we kind of sent up a weather balloon on some Facebook groups. And in like the first 48 hours, we had over 300 people respond saying that they'd be really interested in it. So we went ahead and built it.
And I love that. I love that because, for a person to try to get these skills elsewhere, it would require, maybe some travel, maybe a lot of expense out there. But what you and your partner had decided to do was to give ones an opportunity to learn these valuable skills and really not breaking the bank in doing so, because let's face it, tuition can be pretty expensive when you go to trade schools and things like that. I mean, that's how I learned the broadcast industry. I went to trade school a little over 14 years ago, and I thought it was expensive then, but when I find out what some of these kids are paying now, I'm like, whoa! So, we really appreciate what you were doing, because we look at something, and I know before I really got deep into business, I can do that. All I have to do is learn Avid. All I have to do is learn Premiere. All I have to do is learn these certain things, and I'm good. But, Lawrence, there's a lot of other things you got to know.
Yeah. Great point. And this was another thing that we really wanted to impress upon our students. You can learn the technical skills, but film editing and the film editing world is not just about the technical skills. Obviously, I like to think that it's about three things. It's creativity, technical skills, and then a very important one that nobody teaches you until you get yourself into an editing room, and that's the political and diplomatic kind of interpersonal relationship skill set that you need to work with creative, a lot of creative individuals, directors, producers. It's tricky, and a lot of people these days, especially because they have some editing chops when they sort of get into this world, they want to be heard, and they want their opinions known about the film and about what we're doing, and that's something that you got to really be careful about, because the director might not necessarily want to know what your opinion is, or you might express your opinion and they might get very offended. So not everybody, there's no hard and fast rule, but not everybody wants to hear other people's opinions right away. So there's that whole, like I say, interpersonal and diplomatic part of the job that we feel is very important, and that we teach in the course.
That is so true. I mean, in the world that we live in, it's like everybody wants to. Not everybody. I don't want to deal in absolutes, because only a Sith deals in absolutes, according to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But when it comes to just letting your opinion be heard, like production teams. I've worked on different production teams with ones, and everyone plays an integral part. Teamwork makes the dream work. But sometimes, that project head, when they ask you or they want your opinion, they're going to ask you your opinion, because sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, in this society that we live in now, go ahead and say what you want to say to this. I mean, you can find yourself not being called back from a project real soon if you run your mouth like that. So I'm so glad that you guys are teaching those skills in the course too, because that is so valuable. A good friend of mine is Gary Corden. He does set designing and everything. And Gary and I, we always have a conversation just about what he does and everything. And he's a consummate professional. It's like, this is what I do. I do this. I find out everybody what the director and everybody wants me to do, and I go ahead and do it. They ask me if I should do this, do that, then I'll go ahead and do it. And that's such a valuable piece of this industry, because sometimes we think of the rags to riches story. I started off in the mailroom, Lawrence, but now I am a master editor, Emmy nominated. Do those stories really happen a lot in Hollywood?
Well, yeah, I mean, they do. There are some, editors who, are relatively early in their careers who have had, tremendous success. And, but it's important to realize that, sometimes as an editor, you're only as good as your last film or your last credit. And, you could cut 2 or 3 really sort of prestigious projects and maybe work on a couple of stinkers, and that stink stays with you for a while. It's true for everyone. Directors, boy, even more so for directors. They get hammered if they don't make a film that's received well. So there's ups and downs, and it's a freelance lifestyle, and that's something that people really should sort of find out about. It's not your traditional 9-to-5 by any stretch of the imagination. That. And, the younger people who are interested in our industry really got to kind of come to terms with that if they indeed, can live with that kind of like lifestyle. You know, we talk about the production end being sort of like in the circus a little bit, and you know, freelance life being, you know, feast or famine sometimes. So you know, it's just a rhythm that you got to get used to. But you know, the most important thing is to stick with it. You know, I've found that, you know, I've been able to, you know, have some success, and when times get lean, you know, you just stick with it. You know, I've well into my career, I started cutting short films for free. Actually, I did it early on also when I was making the jump to editor. But, you know, after having a bunch of credits, you know, when things weren't happening, you know, I would cut a short and, you know, try to meet a new director and open up my network, grow my network. You know, it's all these kinds of things that we have to do as freelancers to survive in this biz.
Absolutely. And Larry, I love your candor and talking about that, because I remember growing up being a musician. I always thought, I'm gonna have this hit, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be well known. And you know, I did a couple of things, but it was like I had to do it for the love of the craft. If you have the love of the craft, then, like you said, Larry, you'll start doing things to reinvent yourself, to maybe do some pro bono stuff to keep yourself relevant out there and everything. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because that's I mean, you have no idea just how happy I am that you shared that, because sometimes we get delusions and grandeurs when we think about careers and just, we're always going to be on this peak going up. But, you know, the reality is, in this industry, you know, there's feast and famine, and make sure you continue to reinvent yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes it has nothing to do with what we do. I mean, you know, when the economy got crappy in 2010, the whole industry went into the can. And, you know, when the writers went on strike, so as editors and as cinematographers, directors, you know, we have no control over that. So, you know, you bring up a really good point. It's like, why do I stick with it? Why do I keep going? Because, you know, for me, there's nothing like making a movie, you know, in the sort of like the broad, description of it. And then, you know, specifically, there's nothing like the experience of editing. You know, it's a creative craft, art form, and, you know, you can get into a zone when you're working on a film, when you're cutting a scene and you're examining the human condition and different performances and the way the director might have laid it out, and you get lost, you know, and then you turn around and 10 hours later, you're like, whoa, it's 6 o'clock. I should, you know, get up and, you know, get a banana or something. You get lost in it. So I can't think of many other jobs that you can kind of lose yourself in and just, you know, really enjoy the process.
Yeah, I like your go-to snack, a banana. Mine is like Krispy Kreme donut. I think that's why I'm having a problem with weights right now. So I got to make sure I have you keep bananas next to my workstation. But Larry, ever since you've launched this back in 2018, you have been able to help a number of people in different countries out there, and this is something, it seems like it's real personal to you, why you wanted to do this, to help ones out, because not everybody has the opportunities that I've had or maybe you have had over the years, and why is it important to kind of level the playing field, to help ones to get these skills so they can be competitive out there?
Well, you know, it's a great question, and I've been afforded a lot of opportunities in my life, and I'm really grateful for it. My father was an editor, and he was a director in commercials, and he had his own shop. So I had a way into the business, and I feel very fortunate for that. And I've always felt it's really important to let as many people have the ability to express themselves as possible. And I know that our industry has been, you know, somewhat unfair, probably not even by its own fault, but just by the way things have worked, you know, over the years. You know, it's an old boys network in a lot of ways. It was. And I really thought that, you know, when digital came along, that it was going to open up so many more doors. And I got so excited when products started coming out, like Final Cut Pro. I was a consultant on that early on, and Adobe Premiere. And, just the idea of letting people who want to express themselves in a positive way, as what I'd like to believe, do that. I just believe that that's going to make our world a better place. Hearing individual stories, having, fresh voices, as opposed to sort of like the cookie cutter, movies that come out that, are catering to the lowest common denominator. That's great also, but, I like movies that move me, and movies about human beings and human stories. They resonate with me the most. And I just like to believe that if we can have more people become filmmakers and express themselves and have their voices heard, I just think that's a good thing. I don't know if it's going to save the world or anything like that, but I think it can be nothing but good.
I totally agree with you. And I encourage ones out there who want to get into this field of editing to definitely go check out your training program. I think it's I had a chance to look at it. It's really, really comprehensive, and I like it. You can do it from home. You can, so that's what I really like about it. And before I let you go and get the info how one can find out more information about the course, what was it like working with Marlon Wayans? I mean, he seems like he's such a funny, always upbeat guy. You just worked on a project with him. How was it working with Marlon? Do you have much interaction with him doing editing?
Yeah, I mean, this is my third film with Marlon and his team. Mike Titus is his director. We've worked together on 3 films. Rick Alvarez is his partner and producer. I was lucky to get involved with them on one of their smaller films, 50 Shades of Black. And then we did Naked together for Netflix, and now Sextuplets for Netflix. And what can I say? I'm back for my 3rd time, and I wouldn't be unless it was a blast. These guys are the best to work with. Marlon keeps me laughing, and I'll sit there sometimes through those 33-minute takes, filling up that memory card, and tears will be rolling down my face because he is so funny, and he is such a talent, and so wacky sometimes. And so I'm a lucky man. What can I say? I'll keep making films with them as long as they want me to.
That's awesome. And how can ones find out more information about Master the Workflow, and how can they get more info?
Yeah, sure. It's easy. Just go to mastertheworkflow.com. Look over the material there. Sign up for our mailings and things like that. If you want to contact us directly, just info@mastertheworkflow.com. Shoot us any questions you might have about the course or about editing or an editing career. We have an Instagram account, a really small one. I mean, we're not Kourtney Kardashian by any stretch of the imagination. I'm trying to ramp up the YouTube channel a little bit now that I'm finished with this film. mastertheworkflow.com. Stop by and love to help you out, answer any questions.
Awesome. Lawrence, it's been awesome talking to you and getting your insight and hearing your candor about the business and wanting to help others develop these skills. We love to have you back on and to talk more about this as the course grows and more people get involved with this, because I think technology has made this so much easy for us to learn at our own pace and not have to leave our homes, but to do it in the comfort of our own homes. And this has opened up the door for many people out there who are really talented, creative, to touch into their creativity and learn about film editing. And Lawrence, I think this is great, my friend. So great talking to you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun, and we'll stay in touch.
Huge shout out to Lawrence Jordan joining me to talk about his life in the motion picture film industry, but also what he's doing to teach others and how technology is really helping him do so. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. And, I had to ask him about working with Marlon Wayans. And the answer I expected, I got. Creative mind, very funny, and I really appreciate him opening up to us about that. But definitely check it out. I mean, and this is something I would really like to see adapted for members of my community. As you all know, I'm disabled, confined to a wheelchair, quadriplegic, and I'm really going to try to push this to the disabled community out there who's looking for things to do in a career to get into. Learn these great skills. I mean, you have no idea what's in store. And even if maybe you're a baby boomer and you're like, hey, I want to learn a different skill out there. Hey, learn this right here. Learn these skills. You never know what can happen. I'm telling you, sky is the limit. And the time limit I have reached for this show. I got to get out of here. The guys give me the wrap up side. They're going to cut me off. I keep jibber-jabbing. But thank Larry once more. Lawrence. Larry's looking at it, but I can call him Lawrence. Lawrence Jordan for joining me here and talking about what he's doing out there. All right. So I'm going to hit you up with the deuces now. Bam. And I'll talk to you next time here on the Tech Zone. Take care. Remember, always connect with me, Paul, AmadeusLane.com. Take care, folks.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul, Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.